It was raining hard that night, the kind of cold, uninviting rain that kept even the loneliest souls inside. In the corner booth of a nearly empty roadside diner, Daniel Reed sat staring at a steaming cup of coffee he hadn't touched. His dinner sat half-eaten, not because he wasn't hungry, but because he was tired of eating alone. That's when the bell above the door jingled softly. A woman stepped in, soaked, shivering, clutching the hand of a little boy who looked no older than 6. She scanned the room with tired eyes before whispering, "Sir, my son's hungry. Can we stay a while?" And in that moment, everything Daniel thought he knew about loneliness, kindness, and second chances began to change forever. Daniel had been coming to Marty's diner every Thursday for the past 5 years. Same booth. Same order. Same empty chair across from him. The chair once belonged to Claire, his late wife, the one person who made every meal feel like home. Since the accident, he had become a ghost of who he used to be, a man going through motions, trying to fill the silence with small acts of routine. The diner had become his quiet escape, a place where nobody asked questions, and he didn't have to pretend he was fine. But that night, fate had different plans. The woman, maybe in her early 30s, looked nervous as she wiped rain off her son's face with the sleeve of her old cardigan. "I'm sorry," she said softly, "we just need a place to sit. For a bit. I'll buy him something when I can." Daniel noticed the tremble in her hands. The way she tried to hide her fear behind a brave smile for her son. "Sit," he said quietly, motioning to the seat across from him. "The food's warm. He can share with me." Her eyes widened. "I can't let you, please," he interrupted gently. "It's just food. And no one should go hungry." The boy, Ethan, smiled shyly and slid into the booth beside his mother. As the waitress refilled Daniel's coffee, she looked at the small family curiously, but Daniel just nodded, as if saying, "It's okay." For the first time in years, that empty seat wasn't empty anymore. They ate quietly at first. The sound of rain outside filled the silence until Ethan began to giggle at the way Daniel cut his pancakes in perfect squares. "You're funny," the boy said, his cheeks puffed with food. Daniel chuckled, a sound he hadn't made in months. The woman introduced herself as Lena, a single mother who'd been struggling to find work after losing her job 2 weeks earlier. They'd been living in their car since their landlord threw them out. She spoke with the kind of dignity that only someone who's been broken but refuses to bow completely could have. When Ethan excused himself to the restroom, Daniel looked at Lena and said, "You don't have to go back to that car tonight. There's a motel nearby. I'll pay for it." Her eyes filled instantly with tears. "You've already done too much." "Maybe," he said, "or maybe this is me finally doing something right again." That night, as he watched them walk out of the diner, Daniel realized his heart, the one he thought had died with his wife, was beating again. The next morning, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about them, but he told himself it was none of his business. But when he passed the same motel on his way to work, something made him pull over. Alina and Ethan were sitting outside on the curb, her arm around him, a small backpack at her feet. They looked lost again. "Did something happen?" Daniel asked. Lena gave a weak smile. "They said we had to leave by checkout time. I couldn't find a job last night. But thank you for giving us one night of warmth." Something broke inside Daniel. He remembered the nights he and Claire used to volunteer at a shelter. How she'd always say, "Kindness doesn't end when it's convenient." He took a deep breath. "Come on," he said. "You both are coming with me." He drove them to his small house, quiet, clean, but lonely. Ethan ran straight to the backyard and laughed at Daniel's old swing set covered in dust. Lena hesitated at the door. "We can't stay here." "You can," Daniel replied firmly. "Until you get back on your feet." Days turned into weeks. Daniel helped Lena find part-time work at his factory, and Ethan became the sunshine of the house, always asking Daniel to play catch or listen to his school stories. Once Lena enrolled him in a nearby public school for the first time in years, the house was filled with laughter, and the ghosts that haunted Daniel's nights began to fade. One evening, as they sat at the dinner table, Ethan looked up and said, "Mr. Daniel, can I call you Grandpa?" Daniel froze, the words hitting him harder than he expected. Lena looked embarrassed. "Ethan, don't," but Daniel smiled, his eyes glistening. "I'd like that very much." From then on, they weren't strangers. They were family, stitched together by kindness and second chances. Months later, Lena got a full-time job, and they moved into their own small apartment nearby. Daniel still saw them every Sunday, at the same diner, same booth. But now, that seat across from him was never empty again. One day, as they laughed over breakfast, the waitress asked curiously. You three related? Daniel smiled, looking at the woman and boy who had unknowingly healed him. Not by blood, he said softly, but by something stronger. And in that small diner where he once thought he'd eat alone forever, Daniel realized that sometimes the family you lose makes room for the family you find, all because one mother had the courage to say, "My son's hungry. Can we stay a while?" Sometimes the smallest act of kindness, a shared meal, a warm word, an open door, can rewrite someone's entire story. Because loneliness ends the moment we choose compassion over indifference.